Good morning, good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon where I'm at, so it's afternoon everywhere, unless I guess it's possible to be morning too. So, hello, B3L. It's Road Stevie doing a live session in Discord. So, going through that, we've got a few people in here. Going to keep these sessions every time on Monday, unless you don't see me. So, if you don't catch the session, we'll post up the video thereafter. But otherwise, expect to see me on Mondays doing these sessions, reviewing the market, looking at some possible activity, possible trades, etc. So let's get into it. So volumes overall are staying consistent, which I think is really positive. They're up prior to the November kind of move here and have been really solid throughout. Volumes, I mean, unless it's like an open sea move, etc., it's really hard to gauge. There's a lot of blur farming activity, and I think maybe a little undersold that the blur farming activity is probably not a bad play in some respects for bid points, etc. Blur blast, etc. I think one of the more safer, easier moves to make. So that's an option out there. Was just taking a look at this buy sell ratio. Nearly broke that one on the 20th. It looks like so a couple days ago. Very close. Again, well, this it's the mark that I'm looking for to really indicate that we're in a really strong market, bull market, etc. And I'm going to continue to watch that. Buyers have moved upward over the last few days, which is good, and overall seen some good health and good strength. Marketplace market share, as I mentioned, blurs kind of leading the way. Seeing some other. This is all crypto punks coming in here and seeing a lot of volume, a lot of sales, a lot of bids, which is typically our barometer of the market is punks. At least it has been over the last 18 months. And seeing that strength move into punks is a really positive thing for the space. Blur bid buy volume actually reached one of its lower points it has in some months over this last little bit, and then has since kind of gone back up. But that's a really positive mark, indicating that there's been a lot of buys of people looking to accumulate NFTs that they want. Of course, when NFTs are running and moving, pudgies, doodles, even cool cats, a few of the ones that we've seen here recently, then there's going to be a lot more buys versus just WETH activity. So showing some strength there in the market there. And then buyers to sellers, we're seeing kind of some of the higher numbers we've seen in a while, not the highest, but really strong there too as well. And then taking a look at the 150-day index, this is excellent to see. And we're going to see another positive day after today. At least it's looking like so far. But we're up 40% in terms of ETH terms over the last 150 days. And in USD terms, we're over 200%. So excellent. Most projects are performing well. You can see Pudgy Penguins up 60% in the last week. They've been challenging the 20 ETH floor mark, and really, I think, looking to make that push to flip apes. I think that might be a short-term momentum thing, but we'll see. But yeah, I would watch for them to continue to move upward. Apes maybe continue to pull back as they kind of collide together. Cryptodes, CryptoPunks, Doodles, all up. Doodles, as I mentioned, making a really strong move here from about 1.6 all the way up to 2.6 here in the last little while. So excellent to see for them. One of the collections, one of a few collections that we look at as possibly being the ones that are going to make that Penguins type move. And then in the mid cap index as well, up almost 40% in terms of ETH and over 200% in terms of USD. So performing very well in the last 150 days. Sappy Seals up over 50%. This chart needs to be adjusted. Forgotten Ruins up significantly. Kenpai Pandas, Quirkies, Ranga, all doing really well, all the way down to Gutter Cap. You're seeing a lot of strength here over the last 7 days for most collections in the mid cap. Art Blocks has kind of cycled a lot. Again, another chart that needs to be updated here. Not a lot of attention and volume. Actually, some of the attention and volume is landing on uh, ordinals in Bitcoin with a couple collections dropping there. And then one of the more interesting ones, it's not necessarily art blocks, but we've seen that Opepin kind of tease there that I think is a pretty significant one from Alpha Centauri Kid. Did the art. There's no announcement that the collection's coming. So, I mean, a lot of buys in that anticipation, and I think that's a really safe, smart play. And at least Pepin's been pretty stable. But in the event that Alpha Centauri Kid comes out with a no Pepin drop, and I would assume that everyone's going to opt in for it. If you happen to win one of those opt-ins, and especially if you go in with a couple different tier levels, that's likely to be the Grail collection or near probably top three, and you'd be looking at a pretty significant win in that respect. If not, like I said, there's some stability in the collection overall. And the other bullish part of it is if an artist like ACK does Opepin, then again you're going to continue to see that potential for other elite artists in this space to join on the Opepin bandwagon. I think it's a unique canvas, a narrative in the space, and overall, sorry, got the hiccups. Is really, um, I think, going to be an underlying factor. It's good attention, etc. So, um, really positive towards Opepin overall. Now, one thing that's a little harder is like I said, if you don't win some of those really positive drops, you enter a raffle. 80 uh, NFTs are chosen every raffle, and depending on how strong that raffle is, then that depends on what the outcome is. It requires a 2,000, so a 20x or a 1 in 20 odds for minimum opt-in. So that's kind of the idea behind that. Looking at Punchy Penguin's floor price, you can see this strong run up here. These are reflective of the kind of the lowest sales in the day, so the actual floor tends to ride a little higher. But this is kind of like this would be a measure of your true floor, but just this big massive run up, and then it kind of held a little bit since then, and that's kind of it. So, um, yeah, I want to open it up to those that are here. Any questions, any collections you want to look at? I actually want to first start to look at doodles. Like I said, one of the challenges I had is being able to get the right chart to kind of see this move on doodles, but um, it's harder to get these longer term looks. A lot of them kind of hold out to 30 days, which I don't necessarily think is the best trend to look at. I would much rather look at 60, 90. I did find one here on NFT Go that was pretty good. Allows you to go a little longer on it. So that's not too bad. A lot of lines showing here. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, there we go. I think it's just bugging out. But you could kind of see some of that move. But the other challenge I have with some of these charts is that they kind of really condense down, which is tough to see that activity. But in the last 30 days, there was a really nice breakout that was pretty visible, at least on a short-term trend for doodles. You can see that here on this point. 1.6 has kind of been one of the stable uh, points here and levels on the collection. If you look back, 1.6 is held pretty well. There was a brief dip, I think, prior to December in that November range when kind of markets were at its lowest, whereas in that 1.4 range, but otherwise 1.5, 1.6 is held really strong. And so you can see the collection move off of that 1.6. It pushed up to 2 ETH. A lot of collections had that move in early January, and then it slowly exhaled. Again, very consistent with NFT collections. But you see that downtrend that's occurring here, and then you see this bit of a breakout that pops off on Doodles, and with that, it kind of highlights that opportunity here, and it shows really nicely on the OpenSea chart of all places, um, on this kind of downward triangle, and then breakout, and now they're in this nice strong uptrend. I think it's a lot of buyers, etc., moving around from kind of momentum to momentum on collections where what's the next pudgy kind of move run, and remembering these collections that were at previous really high marks, is what's kind of pushing it. And so more recently here we've had Cool Cats make that similar move. I think Cool Cats needs some kind of, I don't know if it's a change in team. They've done things. They've had their physicals. They've done the Macy parade. Like they're present, but they're just they feel so quiet. Um, but and you can see this a very similar activity here. This is a 24-hour on it, but 30-day long-term downtrend, and then just this run. And this was really kicked off, I believe, almost in part due to a Twitter post by Suzanne NFTs, a punk that did a 17-point thread on Cool Cats and was looking at them as kind of really breaking down what they're about, kind of the backstory, etc., the IP, and just that overall interest in them. I made a reply to that, commenting that maybe this is the collection that is the next Pudgy. I know, of course, that would probably involve some kind of, like I said, team change, team shuffle, etc. For something like that to happen. But Cool Cat's IP overall, and I think is one that could see some success, but just immediate success off of that post, from 0.75 all the way up to 1.2. Again, just that kind of chase of flow in NFT space. So it's really advantageous recent here to look at the collections that are kind of getting a bit of buzz, a bit of movement here, and maybe just playing some of these momentum moves in some of these collections. But just be aware that these are more likely short term, I think, for a lot of collections, as they'll probably pull back thereafter. You can see overall in the last 24 hours, a lot of green, a lot of positivity in most NFT collections. Azuki one is another one I think is really interesting, maybe more so than many in the terms of that Pudgy Penguins kind of realm. Is that they have the anime shorts that have come out, Beans, with the and I can't think of the name of it, but the very prominent Asian brand there, that they have some physicals and some partnership there. I think overall they're really quite interesting. I know on our session last Monday we talked about, and I'm kind of hopping all over the place here, sorry, but we talked about little pudgies, and there was that big sweep kind of occurred just prior to closing out the space, and little pudgies at that time were 0.85. I made a bit of a move upward from there, and I discussed how for me it's I just don't identify with the little pudgy NFT, but it is absolutely an effective way to get into the ecosystem. Then Rod's made a play thereafter, and then even the Opepin Pudgy Penguins also made a really move. So just all off the back of the success in the ecosystem. So I'm gonna go to voice chat here. Okay, Burp asks if we can take a look at Utes. A lot of these charts are going to look similar to what the market is in general, which is mostly kind of brief moments of strong positivity, and then that slow exhale on the floor price. So Utes are currently at 0.53. They've hovered in this range of, I think, up to about 0.58. You can see almost here about 0.58 down to 0.4849, and cycled really back and forth between these 2 points here over the last couple weeks. Kind of really just a part of consolidation, short uptrend here. Um, this one here broke that lower channel. Um, yeah, I mean, I and if you look at some of the back on where Utes was 0.75 not long ago. But that's also kind of driven by what's the narrative between D gods and what are they doing, etc. Is usually what helps them move the most. They have a few different things that they're working and cooking on, but it's more of a like a to me a kind of a stable ish NFT that's kind of like a more of a mid to long play that I kind of look at it in, and then you're just waiting for whether or not something significant happens with Frank. Otherwise, I think it's more of a kind of a stable kind of NFT overall. And then if let's see if we can look at this on a longer term. I know the collection itself is a little bit more broken up because of their migrations. So some of these charts may not show longer term. So there's 30 days there as well. You can see that there's been good resistance at this point, or good stability in this point, 4.5, 4.8 range. Yeah, it looks like NFT Go is providing pretty effective uh, sales plotted charts over time there, which is good to have, and is free. They have some of the more advanced charts, polar trends, mint trends, and then some of the stuff in the pro trade that are paywalled, but there's still a good portion that is free. So it's pretty handy in looking at collections over time. But yeah, 0.75 is kind of in that longer term trend. I don't think I have anything further. I know they were at 1.2 ETH when they were over on Polygon. And they haven't hit that level on ETH at all. There's a point. A little bit of sales in that 0.4 range. This is, I think, around the time that Frank made some kind of interesting off-base comments, and so that's provided kind of their all-time low. But overall, I think 0.45 is the downside, and like I said, probably looking at 0.75 is the upside on Utes overall. Any other questions, thoughts, collections that we want to look at? Pudgy's at 18. I just wish Blur would give me more than 30 days. Pudgy's holding really well. Another really interesting play, and this is kind of something to really consider, specifically when we're getting these collection-based moves, is look at the secondary collections, and often they can trade in that 1 to 5 ratio with a lot of collections. And you can compare the charts and see where they have been historically, and it may not be the 1 to 5 ratio, but consider those secondary collections as an additional opportunity to get into the space. So Doodles has obviously a couple secondary elements as well to it, But the one that kind of stood out to me, and I don't know, let's see here, they're going to show on Blur or not, was these V1 punks during this punk move. And so they actually bottomed out at this 3 ETH mark. They had moved up to about 4.5. They don't trade a lot of volume, very similar to punks in that regard. But that was kind of an interesting play when everything kind of hyped up around the punks here as well. It's just kind of consider these little kind of slightly unknown. Another one that was interesting too is that something like, and this was existed in Pudgies, is the Coinbase NFT market. I haven't been to this site in forever, but the Coinbase NFT market actually provided um, some excellent deals. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. No, that's awesome. I probably should get a subscription to something like um, Parsec or something like that. But okay. Yeah, that's excellent. That is sweet. Oh, this is delayed a bit. See that it's at just below 10. What is that? WETH offers. Sweet. Um. So yeah, Pudgy's floor of 15 ETH. Is that right? No, that isn't right. Floor is 18. It shows 15 on the Coinbase. But there are some listed over there. So it can be an opportunity, especially during a run. I mean, there's only a handful of collections that are over there that have active listings. So it's not the easiest, but if something like Zuki were to move, that could be an opportunity, or mutants. Cool Cats has cool pets. I don't know if cool pets would do a lot. They are twice the collection size as well. But 0.04, there is a run up on it. It was 0.024, so it has gone up a fair bit. In terms of where a collection sits as a secondary, that is very low. But I know the sentiment towards cool pets has always been um, kind of poor overall. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the one that is going to make the big move. But again, that's that same idea where um, primary collection moves, then you get the secondary uh, as well. I guess I can't see that there. Cork is a bit of a move, producing, I guess, essentially about a 2x during this quirky run. Kilobits had some success. Sounds like kilobits are moving over to Solana or bridging there. That's interesting. Um, I know for me, Solana is becoming a greater interest as time goes on. Just I think more the lower gas price and the trading experience might be interesting. Um, I've used Magic Eden a fair bit here recently, and overall don't mind the experience. So Clone X, take a look there. Clone X tapped the one ETH mark. They're still below kind of what their stable bench line was at the 1.25 for a period of time. So they're still possibly a little bit undervalued. Haven't seen quite the move as everything else has. So I just want to take a look at maybe if we take a look at a bit of a longer term on it as well. A lot of it is just in part due to a lack of any kind of real delivery on CloneX, which makes it hard. 1.1 in earlier December. There's our one ETH. It's been in a pretty consistent downtrend. And I think unless it's breaking 1.3, maybe 1.4, it's not super bullish. So I mean, it's just really trading in that channel there from where it's at here at 1.2 to maybe 1.3, which isn't a very significant move, but maybe one of those collections that sees a bit of strength off of what this market is. Um, but where they're positioned right now, I don't think there's a lot to be excited. Meebits, kind of interesting here too. Again, seeing a bit of a recent move off of actually below 1 ETH, so zero 0.9. And that was really a lot of these collections hit their low right off of the ETH pump. But they're kind of, if you're thinking secondary collection to punks, that's another way to look at it, right? And Meebits hasn't had a lot of attention to them. They don't capture that same attention as punks do. They don't necessarily feel like the punks brand, so to speak, but they are very much punk adjacent in that respect. Long-term floor 1.1 back to 1 in October. Did get a move up to 1.6. So very similar to what we saw with CloneX, to be honest. Kind of an almost overall gauge of what the market is doing. Also in a pretty consistent downtrend. Maybe breaking out of that here more recently. This is where it'd be nice if I could draw some lines on this chart. I had an app that I could draw on my screen with that I can't locate, but yeah, I think overall they need a bit of a more of a move here, and it's quite similar to CloneX in terms of where they're positioned. Just this long term kind of slow downtrend. Sappy Seals, they've been playing very much as the uh, cousin to Pudgy Penguins. It's bizarre, really, but they basically um, almost trade in tandem, uh, even though they have no relation. There's nothing on the Sappy Seal side of it other than kind of having that QPFP. There's nothing to it that stands out for why they should kind of trade in correlation, because there's no no sappy seals delivery like that. Much more positive chart though. So trading consistently in that 0.35. They did move up to just about 1 ETH early December, and then a slow kind of pullback, then another run up to 0.7. So they in this little bit of a slow downturn, and then it's breaking that trend and making this run all the way up to just about 1 ETH a couple times here. But 1 ETH is kind of that barrier for them. Um, but you're almost trading in tandem to what Pudgy Penguins are doing, right? So Pudgy Penguins break 20 or Pudgy Penguins flip apes. Expect that, maybe Sappy Seals can finally break that 1 ETH mark. So, and they're kind of a, you know, they're at a risky point right now, I think, overall for a trade. You can almost see them going from 0.85 back up to this 1 ETH mark and then potentially down from there. So, um, you know, watching that, but it is a kind of a short term watch there. It's really hard to see some of these. I guess I can make this chart bigger, but it's just like really up and down. It's all over the place, really, and it's hard to correlate any lines there when you look at it. But if you take it into something like Magically, um, how do I want to do this? Span 30 days, and then we want traditional view. It'll give us our trading view. And then we don't want 15 minutes. 4 hours. It's not bad. Almost a bit of a breakdown of the trend here. So if I can click on the draw, where's the draw? I had the draw. Oh, yeesh. Blind. It's just in a different place. Right. So that trend, and you can almost draw it back to here, not quite, but that breakdown there, um, a bit of support, possibly at this 0.75, but more likely down in this 0.66, and then look for a bounce off of that, and then it's probably gonna cap out in this. I don't know if it's back in the upward trend, but the plague. I don't know if you can hear that. No, my son has got a toy dog that is just going off right now, and it's quite annoying. But yeah, I think looking at the plague is pretty interesting, actually. I'd like to look at it about 4 month range here, but you see from November onward has been on a very nice upward trend, a bit of a pullback, and then stabilized. Now this pullback is this early January cycle, this kind of repricing of ETH. So that happened in a lot of collections. It hasn't necessarily recovered as fast as some of the other collections have, but it did maintain that point 0.4 floor mark. Um, so you're looking for a bit more of that breakout here. So selling above point 0.4. Where are they at right now? This is not the plague. It's 0.42, but there are some sales above that. Yeah, I kind of like it where it's at right now. Um, it's harder to this chart when it's expanded doesn't look quite as clean. Let's take a look at it magically. So into traditional. And if we can look at it, maybe daily. So this does capture the. Is that a resale? Is that just someone selling pretty low there? What was the last sale on this, volume wise? So the last sale was into a wheat, and that's where the floor looks like it's lower than it is when you look at magically here. So it's based off of the not the listing price, but the sales activity, which I think is really probably the best way. I mean, I would like to do it off a listing price, but that's that data is really hard to come by. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't. Holden here. What do you think of the plague here? Or to give it a little TA. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess the one challenge here is that the volume is quite low at the moment. So that 0.37 is just one trade over that day, and that's what's producing the red candle there. Even though the current active floor is 0.42, um, which is which is up already up over here. So that that would be a better look. Um, then again, you still want to get above this kind of 0.42 mark. Um, so it's interesting. It's a bit of a short term trend upward, but I don't know. 11,000, yeah. Well, and that's the thing is volume is pretty low for a large collection. So that would be the only concern there. And you can see a couple big volume days here, but if I look at it overall long term, I think it's yeah. How far does this go back to April? Because it's really at or near long term highs over the last year and a half. Um, that's what kind of gets me a little hesitated. But I do, right? Like, yeah, yeah, kind of almost 0.35. Some of these candles can kind of do wonky stuff, especially if the volume's low, and even on a 24-hour. That's one of the harder parts of doing this kind of activity for NFTs is you will get some wild swings up and down with it. Yep, true. So I would want to watch for the most part here on this one is to watch overall. How do you get the charts or the candles to show up? I'll go back. So we go into a collection. We have D gods here. Good one to take a look at in here. And then you can go and hit traditional view. And when you click traditional view, it's going to do candles. It's probably going to give you 15-minute candles. You're going to want to go to 4 or 24-hour candles. You could probably get away with 4 on something like Utes. Does it have enough volume? 24 if it's a collection with less volume. And then you've got yourself the candle. Um, so this one's kind of running between. Oh, actually, this is D Gods. Sorry, saw the branding, and thought it was Utes, but so D Gods hovering in this kind of range. You're looking for it to bounce off this 3 ETH mark right now, and get above 3.15 ish range before it's a good buy. Otherwise, there's more risk of I think breakdown than up. But that's how you can do that, and you can also draw on the charts and add indicators. So this is pretty awesome to be able to do that, um, and free access. So that part is handy. You can do this in Parsec a lot more advanced, although Parsec requires a subscription. I've kind of burnt through my free 30 days a couple times here, so I don't have it. Um, but it would be nice to have Parsec, but it's kind of costly overall, right? So that's kind of the challenge. Little pudgies with a bit of volume here. This pudgy run is no, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. I've definitely been looking for the right new platform. Like I said, magically for kind of that live kind of short term trading and activity is my favorite. Digging into collections, it used to be NFT Go. but they've locked that down a bit. So looking for the next real nice source of a tool and platform. So let's take a look here. Ethereum, dark mode, minting and trading, which is nice. And this is doing it based on sales. We do it based on more on volume, yeah. Volume. 15 minutes, so getting degods with a few sales there. Okay. This looks very similar to NFT Go. It's like they hacked the site and just copied it. Could be, yeah. That analytics, though, is not as detailed as what you would see. Yeah, I mean, I swear, these are all a lot of NFT Go type charts in layout, which is totally fine. It doesn't have some of the more advanced metrics. They have an API for themselves as well. Interesting. Okay, sounds good. Especially if I can get a little. I mean, I have dug into the NFT Go API a bit, but unless you have like a constant data stream where you're grabbing all the data, a lot of them are kind of limited to um, smaller snapshots, etc. Mm-hmm. Degens is kind of nice. Um, so you can see a couple different charts in here. Um, bid asks, listings. Um, so they have some charts and trends over time as well. So it's kind of good. It doesn't have it takes a while for it to update newer collections. So a good example here, actually, well, I think it doesn't have Solana and Bitcoin. Um, so if you click on Undeads, it doesn't have it. Hi, bud. Thank you for the Smarty, bud. Yeah. Okay, see you later, bud. But what I do like about this is it does show all of the collections or all of the primary chains. So Bitcoin, Solana, ETH, and then combined in USD volume. So it's really nice. And then you can see the largest sales along the top here as well. I don't know if this actually filters. It'd be nice if this filtered by chain on the largest sales when you clicked it, but it doesn't. But it's a pretty nice platform. It's currently free as well, and I know they're doing a lot of active development on it. At least they talk about it in the um, Rug Radio daily morning NFT show. So yeah, that is basically it. I have to shut it down so I can watch the kid as the wife goes and picks up the other kid from school. But we will do it again. I will try and make sure it's advertised a little earlier next time, so that way we can get more people in and active on it. But I appreciate the questions and the sharing there, IO. And we will do it again. Look at collections. Overall, the market seems to be um, pretty healthy. There's been some, crypto wise, there's been a bit of a dump across the board, which does provide a little bit of opportunity to get some discounts on any collections that haven't moved too significantly. Um, if you are have some USD on the side, but um, yeah, because crypto itself is tanking a bit. And is this from the news yesterday? Wasn't there a bit of news yesterday, IO? I think something was going on. Okay. So because hmm and then ETH is just following that BTC cycle on there. Crazy. Okay. Well, NFTs are good. Crypto not so much. At least something. Uh, yeah. Again on Monday, next Monday, and then Thursday on the Spaces as well. So those two events, and then yeah, go from there. All right. Appreciate it. I will. No worries. Yeah, I will post up the video here in a bit and catch you again next week.